Okay, boys and girls, today we are looking at quotations and how we use them, also why we use them. Let's take a look. Quotation marks. That is this right here. Those are quotation marks. They show the exact words of a speaker in a conversation. We use a comma to separate the speaker's exact words from the rest of the sentence. We use a capital letter to begin the first word inside the quotation marks. We put the punctuation mark that ends the quotation inside the quotation marks. Let's look at a few examples. The first one, quotation mark, right at the beginning, and then we have our sentence, I can play music on my pipe, and that's just a regular sentence. So instead of a period, we see a comma. And then we have our last set of quotation marks. And we finish it up with said Elena, because Elena's who said that sentence. And then at the very end of the sentence, we do need our end punctuation, which is a period here. Okay, let's look at our next example. I'm going to erase all this business first. Okay, next example. She asked, let's take a look here. She asked, comma, remember we're separating the quotation from the rest of the sentence. So she asked, comma. Now we have our quotation mark because we're getting to what she actually said. So quotation mark, starting with a capital letter, shall I play for you? Now that is a question, so we need a question mark, and then the last set of quotation marks. So she asked, shall I play for you? All right, let's look at the last example. We replied, okay, not in quotation marks because that's not what they said, but we do need to separate this part of the sentence from the quotation, right? So we need a comma. We replied, comma. Now we get to the actual words that they said. So we need the quotation mark, and here's what they said. We start with a capital letter. That's a great idea, and apparently they said it with enthusiasm, so we have the exclamation point, and we're going to end with the quotation mark. Okay, quotation marks. There's two of them together, right? Two of them together, and they're up higher. They go before the sentence and after the sentence of the exact words that were said. Now, there are some other uses for quotation marks, okay? They can also indicate titles, like titles of a movie, like a song, poem, and story titles as well. So this week we didn't read Elena's Serenade, but that is a story. We read, well, I think last week, we're reading Wired World, right? A story for Wired World. And so we can do this. Actually, the name of our story this week is, oh man, I forgot it. But we can put the name of your story in the quotation marks, okay? Now, if it's a name of a book, that's different, okay? Title of a book is not in quotation marks. Those are quotation marks are built for songs and poems and stories, okay? Like a chapter in a book, think of it that way. Okay, so our directions. Underline the part of each sentence that is the quotation, the exact words the people said, or the person said. All right, so if you think you know these first three, this is a great time to stop and pause my video. Think of what you should underline, what are the quotations in these first three, and then you can resume the video and check your work. Here we go, number one. I want to play the flute, said Jeremy. So I have to underline the quotation, what Jeremy said. Well, he said, I want to play the flute. All right. Number two, I will teach you, replied Miss Foster. Miss Foster said, I will teach you. Those were her exact words. And number 3, Ms. Foster said, everyone will enjoy your songs. Ms. Foster's exact words, everyone will enjoy your songs. Okay. Now, question number 4, 5, and 6. We are going to do these. I'm going to modify it slightly. I'm not going to rewrite the whole sentence because, as you guys have experienced, when I write whole sentences using this video software, it takes me forever in a day, and I put all you guys to sleep faster than normal. Okay? So, I'm going to add to, I'm just going to add to these guys here. Okay? So, 4, 5, and 6. I need to, what's it say? Add quotation marks and commas where they are needed. So it looks like quotation marks and commas. Number 4 says, some of my songs are happy, said Jeremy. Oh, before I do these, if you're doing these on your own, right, you can look at, oh, sorry about that. You can look at these 3 examples right here to kind of help you out. And also, you can look at all this information at the top to help you out. Okay? I'm not expecting you to memorize all this stuff quite yet. Okay, number 4. Some of my songs are happy, said Jeremy. Well, I think about the words that Jeremy are saying here, and he's saying exactly this. Some of my songs are happy. So, since those are his words, I need to come up here at the beginning of the sentence and put my 2 quotation marks. They don't have to have the little dots underneath them, or at the end, you notice the dots are on top, right? You don't have to do that. You can just do something like this, okay? So, quotation marks before the first word that he actually said. I also need quotation marks after the last word he said. Some of my songs are happy. And the last word he said was happy, so I need quotation marks there. Okay. Now, it's saying said, so not a lot of excitement probably there. So here, typically, we would use a comma. Okay. Not an exclamation point, not a question mark. I can't put a period here because my period has to go at the end of the sentence, right? Okay. So my comma goes after happy. Now, here's one thing that's really important. Your comma, I'm going to change colors here. Your comma is inside of your quotation marks. They're not stacked on top of each other. Okay, so they don't look like this where you have quotation marks and a comma right underneath. We can't do that. Okay, we cannot do that. So the comma, whoops, sorry about that. I'm trying to erase and I didn't change to an eraser. Okay, the comma goes first, right after happy, and then, so we have our comma here, and then there's a little bit of space, and then I can put in my quotation marks, and then the rest of the sentence. Okay? So the comma, or if it was a question, there would be a question mark right here. If it was an exclamation, my exclamation point would be right there, but they go before the last set of quotation marks. All right, so I think there I am, right? I did the quotation marks and the comma. All right. Ms. Foster exclaimed, number 5, Ms. Foster exclaimed, you play beautifully. Okay, so what words did she actually say? She actually said, you play beautifully. And notice, because she exclaimed it, we have at the very end of what she said, an exclamation point. All right, so let's take a look at, let's add in my quotation marks. Quotation marks before, now that, I didn't do that very well, so let me undo that. Kind of hard here on this device. You play beautifully, and the quotation goes after the exclamation point there, okay? Then the next thing I need is my comma. Remember, our comma separates what she said from the rest of the sentence. And here it goes right after exclaimed. So again, in this instance, my comma goes before my exclamation points. And it's kind of hard to see, they didn't have a lot of room. But mine actually looks like it's even more right underneath, and you definitely don't want that. The comma goes before that exclamation point, that first one there. Okay. Let's see here. I need to erase this line because it'll get in the way of my next piece of work maybe. Number 6. Jeremy can play a song named Paco's Dog. Now here, he's not saying something, but if you remember, way over here, quotation marks also include or indicate many kinds of titles, like songs, poems, or stories. Okay? So here on number 6, we have a song, and the name of the song is Paco's Dog. So the name of the song needs to be in quotation marks. And we have some right before Paco, after dog, and after the period. Okay. And now I need my comma in there to separate the name of the song from the rest of the sentence, and it goes right before the song, right after named. Now I did a much better job here of showing that my comma goes actually before that first set of quotation marks. I did a much better job on number 6. All right, boys and girls, that's all I have for you today. Review quotations, practice them a little bit if you need it, and we'll have a little bit more practice tomorrow before we take our post test. As always, this is Mr. P, and I am out.